reference to how to try and keep a record of disability hate incidents. This is in UK, and I go from personal experience. Since 2013, it's now 2018. Bad connection, bear with me. I just found some old records and a previous police report dated 2013 and a previous letter. Bad connection, bear with me. Starting again the back. So basically, I'm not going to state anybody specifically. Connection again. Come on, Wi-Fi. Sarah, it's alright. Keep an eye on that for me. Let's see if this gets moved to one's area. And I can't say much more because she might be identified, but I do not want to do that because I'm not in that purpose of any kind of revenge at all. It's just again today was just another example of, this time it was deliberate. I've got a witness and I've got a photograph of particular this female's mother, who in 2013 was purposely used I pay for rent and service charges, and that includes the disabled parking bay in one's area. And she, unfortunately, she's just her temperament, she hasn't changed all these years on. So today, broad daylight, headlights beaming on into my flat window. My friend had the window open to let some air through. We're just going bad connection again, yeah? You're witnessing this. Okay, just keep a record of every type of disability hate, and directly or indirectly. Keep a log, a record, and whatever you may be able to do that. Situation's been going on 2013, it's 2018 now, and a certain individual parking in one's disabled bay with a headlight beams on right into my lounge window, witnessed by an independent friend of mine, and a photograph of the individual of her car, and all the other bays are free for her to pull up in, and the one she normally parks in next to mine, and she did really done that. I know who's behind, been trying to get my disabled bay taken off me. It's her and the individual obviously that lives above me. Her mum pushed her daughter into doing this. So when you realise, I found all the paperwork, by the way, I've kept it in a file purposely for trying to help me with a current matter I'm dealing with. So it's a direct victimisation, constantly trying to drive me out of my own home. And her boyfriend's involved in it all now. And there's been too many incidents this week to count what's been happening as well. So I can't mention much about the female when she was younger, when she moved in, so it's quite a few years now, isn't it? And there's just been nothing but lack of action and protection of one's lawful rights equal to anyone else who's non-disabled. And it's just constant, deliberate attempt to create the emotional abuse, get into the psyche, trying to make you feel less. You know, it's just unfortunate, the mannerisms in their psyche of these individuals. And before she moved in, as soon as she moved in, actually, her family members didn't want to know. As soon as she had certain, can't even say that actually, because that's how I identify her. She got involved with somebody, and then all these years on, well, it's just, he behaves in a certain way, deliberately to create this added effect of indirect and now direct disability hate towards me. He's already been caught before on video and camera, and I was threatened by that individual in my wheelchair outside in my hallway by my flat. The police wouldn't do anything because they claimed this, that it was happened in a private building, which is a bit strange, even though I got video evidence of what he did and my life was at risk by him. Because when he loses his violentness, I don't know where it comes from, but it was pure, undescribable, as I can put it. And nobody within this housing company I rent this flat from, employee, did a thing. No, never has. So it's nothing but, apart from the disability hate and the targeting of that way, I get it in all mannerisms, even by the more than ever past year that you can imagine. And this time it's using certain elements within a certain housing company, employees not upholding one's human rights in Equality Act 2010 and the Disability Discrimination Act. I can't remember what year that is, statutes in the UK. So when you actually stumbled across, you're dealing with one issue, and then you stumble across a website and stumbled across a law company that specialises in these areas. Well, it's just a simple question of looking at protection then, and all these new statutes come in, plus protections of a man or woman training in their employment area, claiming to be, there's meant to be protection of vulnerable adult, surely. And, well, just because we're less able-bodied does not mean to say we have any less rights. And you would have thought in this day and age, there'd be more sort of like all this linked up public services, for example, and then the private companies linking up with protection of vulnerable adults. There's national policy on that. And when you start learning about these key elements and reading up on it, sometimes they expect people to be so weak perhaps, and unable to protect oneself. Well, hold on, because I do know how to do that, and honourably and lawfully. Well, then when you start sussing things out and seeing the connections, connecting the dots, and it's pure like I have found these documents again today that are linked up, well, the same pattern of behaviours happen today like it was since it started, 2013. So I've got a paper trail and an email trail, and now on the apps, a voice app, you know, of what took place again this past few days. And then it's just nobody. It's no surprise, there's nobody's held accountable. Because obviously all these companies, board directors, profit-making companies as well, care about is profit margins. And when you look at the modules of incorporating into this Care Act, for example, 2014, I suppose you could call this part 2 of the stream of yesterday. And in this mannerism where the data protection of anyone who's ill, pardon health, whatever age, and I don't know how it works with your children and what type of disabilities you may have, learning, visual, is a manner of different formats of disability. It's just a general word, really. It all depends how you identify oneself as disability in one's ill health. So just be aware of your surroundings and who you trust, and be alert, because unfortunately the mainstream media sometimes, not always, sometimes, an alternative. They portray people who have ill impairments and health, whatever that may be within the subject of disability, creates the adverse effects. And even if you've got a family with a disabled child or an adult or a youth, you only know too well if you take them out to shops and perhaps you've got autism child, you know, and they just play up, but people just stare at you in shops or something. But I don't know what's wrong with people. It's just unfortunate the way that things are nowadays. if you're not clued up and armed up with knowledge and learning how to, sometimes you can't always ignore things happen because it's so close to home, you're right in front of your face. I've experienced that in the shop, and I've learned how to raise above it and how to respond where individuals cannot respond back with negativity. It's a practice, it takes time, and I've learned that over the years with these individuals in my area. And so, yes, it does affect one, and it can have a negative impact if you let it onto your psyche. It does take its toll, and sometimes this is the intention of these individuals, because they're must be so bored and sad in their own individual lives. And it's important with any, you see these programs, and it does not help in mainstream media when they portray people who are not unable to work for whatever reason. Everyone's situation is different. And when you're high complex ill health and disabilities, it really is just that. You cannot help. I didn't get asked to get run over and end up in a wheelchair. And the things happening to me over the period of years now, it's just got worse instead of better. And then just because I know certain things in knowledge, I'm no better than anyone else. It's just I know now how to deal with things in a lawful due process. But a lot of key people out there, they don't. And they're taken advantage of. And I don't agree with that myself. And I don't agree that these individuals should be getting away with what they're doing. But you try and use the statute processes to go and get a lawful remedy. There's not. You're not going to get it, unfortunately. You're very lucky if you do. And I don't know how many people's tried. But from what I've studied, and that's why I got into the subject of law, and I'm just self-taught in certain subjects I won't go into right now, that I learn to hold certain individuals accountable. So this can happen even in like professional settings. Say you're, unfortunately, like I might be soon, be asked to go into they call it a respite, but it's not. It is not quite what you imagine to be a nice environment of care and support, because everyone's got different personalities, way of caring and looking, and there's all these great, wonderful words and policies and statute laws, but not everything's upheld in honourably and lawfully. And the treatment one can get in that kind of setting also could come across as pure just attitudes sometimes of individuals in their work capacity also, who are not clued up how to treat disabled people. And it's meant to, I know, but even those at work can try and assess people to see what the support needs may be or may not be offered. Again, that is crucial to get data corrections of individuals that consent and able to consent. And then it could be like if you disagree with incorrections being held upon you, upon oneself or your loved ones, then that can also create a detrimental effect on the offer of future goods and services. So it's a very complex area. But it does not help when you're going through, personally, the targeting of these pure just hatred and discriminatory practices, whether it's in your environment where you live, whether your workplace if you're in there, whether you're just out shopping or trying to every day anything you're trying to do, whether you're trying to engage with services that's trying to help you with your day-to-day life, whether you're unfortunately end up in an emergency situation, and although these paramedics meant to be trained in this knowledgeable knowledge, what I'm talking about, they're not always. And I have a witness about that too, back in September last year, which witness caught live on live video feed. So I find it quite concerning, actually, that there's not a lot more being done to make sure that we are not going to be hid away, that we are going to be, we can't be as equal as able-bodied, of course, because our ill health, whatever disabilities may be, you're going through. It's vital not to be rubber stamped and looked at like you're like a number kind of thing on a computer screen, because of these cutbacks in the UK in many areas going on, and the pressures on people in the work environments and the caseloads perhaps, because it's so important to get why things are happening the way they are. You can't always answer these key elements when it's constantly going on and there's no break from it. So it's an intention to wear the individual down, to make them feel weak for themselves. So if you try and whatever way works for you, I mean, even if you try and just switch off your social media, because you can even, I mean, I've heard about the younger generations experiencing that, like in the bullying, you know, the self-esteem, you know. It's just sad when it's adults, you know, trying it on with less able-bodied men and women, you know, whatever age you are. And how many support services out there really knows how to tackle all this in a bigger picture of scheme of things. For example, like, if you don't feel safe in your own four walls, in your own home, and then you've got other things going on which is not your fault, you've not caused anything, it's things are not happening within the lawful due processes. In, say, I can only go, for example, housing. And the elements in these key automated kind of system, computer systems, you've got these men and women working behind the screens of the computers, and maybe you're not clued up on all these disability rights and human rights and what goes along with one's ill health. Why should you have to educate them? Why should you have to keep constantly trying to say, excuse me, you know, don't you realise certain limited information is held to aid you, to aid me, kind of thing. So it's not just about, you know, the history of what I'm going through. It's learning about trying to, on top of everything else, the pressures in daily life now, so many who are going through so much ill health. It is unfortunate to see this going on, not just to me. I observed so many other situations, generally the random situations sometimes, and then you observe things on so many posts and experiences of people similar online. And then the mainstream media, you get to hear about what happens if you can't take your family out for outings because you're always going to get the nasty comments of people with lack of sensitivity. Well, how would they like to be in your position, experience the same, you know? So I would never blame yourself for what goes on, because it's not your fault. You're just you trying to exist. But just keeping a log of what's going on, whether it's a diary, because getting it written down, getting it out your system, instead of it keeping it inside yourself, it helps to get it out. And if there's all these dismissive of, because there used to be this dedicated hate crime unit, but now it's more not related to any disability hate related incidences. It's more due, you know, it's all changed, really, the way they do things. And I don't know what it's like in parts of the United Kingdom now. But these key men and women in the public sector services linking up with shared services in the areas, also with, I relate to adult safeguarding, for example. I don't know how it works with children, of course, but surely with people sharing your data, making assumptions about one, and if they not realise there's issues going on which is already being reported and already is not made up, it's all like dates and times and what's happened kind of thing, and that's ignored. So how can you trust another individual with your own data sharing to try and help you in the future, offer services, whatever they may be, you know? So it is like, as I said, I found this law company's information. I just sent a couple of emails to bring a test case using the statute system to High Court, Because when you start studying these things and find out, to try aid yourself basically, and then share the knowledge that you might stumble upon to see if it may help someone else who may not know about it. And not all these support lines or advice lines or services is available because there's so many waiting lists, the timescales and things. You just might not have time. Time is at the essence, like clock watching really, because unfortunately, seriously, when you're absolutely in an unsafe environment, you've got to think of your personal safety logically, which I'm having to do. And I don't like what's happening, of course not, but I got to think practically what's safer for me to be in a safe environment with like-minded people, that similar situation, unfortunately, and I might not be able to return because, you know, people in their professional job role have a duty of care. And if they see you're not in a safe environment, and on top of all this harassment and discriminatory actions, behaviours to threatening your safety in your own home, and not even the housing employees are doing anything about it, then you really need to think about it. And logically, so all I say is declutter your environment perhaps. Don't just make do. My opinion only, by the way, is this. Try and make do with what you need, you know, practically everyday use. There's no point keeping things that you don't need to use anymore. There are various apps and websites you can give away things for free. When you do that, it's very important to vet people and work out your own process, how you do that with support if you got it. Because I've managed to get rid of a lot of things recycling. Okay, I could have easily sold it on like eBay and places like that, but that all takes time, and I haven't got time, unfortunately. So if I don't try and at least have it, I know as soon as I see an individual that's been offering a service at the moment, and the only way I offered to come to my home to see this environment for themselves. Okay, so there's a bit of paint on the walls and it looks much better, but the major impact of the disrepairs is not going to get a remedy while I'm here, and that means I lose my right to my secure tender and housing as a disabled woman. But you see, I have found another document dated 2012. And that was a reference to try and do like an occupation therapist report supporting of alternative housing. Well, even then, in that period of time, a long time ago now, it's even worse now, trying to find so many people in the same situation, trying to get a disability facilities grant on that subject. And then there's a waiting list for that. And how long are people waiting for bungalows to meet their needs? You know, I wish to goodness this place could be adapted to meet my needs properly. But then again, you know, it does state on certain social housing companies' policies, if it's going to cost too much and you're going to be waiting for a long time and it's going to affect your health and safety, then there is going to be a push really to help you make a decision for your own health and safety. And that's important to think about. Your well-being, your health, your safety, your environment. And if you're going through disability harassment as well, what's the point coming back to a place that's still going to happen? So it's just looking at avenues, weighing up the pros and cons, working out if you've got friends and families to talk it through. And sometimes, you know, I don't like going to lawyers to seek information to do a test case. I think it's important for my situation anyway, because if there's still old data being used, incorrect facts, and that's still going to be accessed by anybody that's trying to offer goods and services, wherever it may get referred, because you get initial offer assessment anyway. But there's no guarantee you get offer services. But just say if you do, for your disability, they call it community care. Just say if you do, and an individual doesn't know you, they look at the computer and they go into the Care First record, what they're going to find? The information that's been shared without your consent, by the way, you for whatever reason, you know, within the element of adult safeguarding, there's an element of protection of the individuals that share your data. But you will not be able to get access to your own subject data. And so that's where I question this point of that statute of 2014 in the element of adult safeguarding, because if something's gone wrong and you've suffered a detriment and you've been disadvantaged and you actually had human rights abuses in many ways, then surely it's one's lawful right to have that correction. So you're looking at in the United Kingdom now, every town and city, where they have these link-up services. If you don't know what it is, you can do your own research. Don't ever take what I say for gospel. It's always important to do your own research. And on this, you got, as I said earlier, you got the NHS, you got the housing, you got... Well, it's just a vast amount of the way it's all sewed up so tight. It's more protection for those working in these elements in their job roles, and then they forget. I'd like to see more people that was able to work being supported in these environments, because then you got the real voice of the disabled people saying, hold on a minute, your policies are not implemented in reality when you're making key decisions of them when trying to offer goods and services. But I'm not seeing much of that happening. And it's 2018, you would have thought it could be better. But anyway, it's very careful to how one records all this information and keeps a record. And just for perhaps your own personal use. And if you need to record, you don't have your close family friends about, and for whatever reason, it's important to notify lawfully in advance those individuals that are trying to say, oh, we'd like to see you, like to do this, offer this, that and the other, to notify them that there's I do not consent to sign your documentation or any paperwork, and simple line to fact, because there's incorrect data already held. And if that means that you're going to deny me access to goods and services, then unfortunately you've made that decision, not I. So, you know, it's not you not engaging. It's because of what's happened and their failures, not their current individuals trying to help you, but the previous ones hadn't followed due lawful process before. So just a simple couple of paragraphs on that might be helpful. And how you word it is up to you. You know your own situation, or your family situation, or your own, what you're going through. And sometimes, unfortunately, just be aware that these individuals working in whatever sector they're working in, public or private, could easily take that the wrong way, because they have no clue, sometimes, if they're not trained up and kept up to date, what disability, the effects of that can be vast and different in each situation. But generalising and putting, like, you don't put in a tick box. You're just everyone's individual. Every circumstances are different. You can't generalise situations, you know. And that's why I really thought I'd do a stream to just, if you don't know what to do or how to do it, because there's not always going to be these services about. And it's having streetwise knowledge. You know, it's taken me years to learn a lot of stuff, really. But I'm having to change everything in my life now. And it's hard work to accept, offer services and the consequences behind all that. But my health is not getting any better. It's getting worse than I didn't visualise. So I do need to put my safety and my environment first, and it won't be here. It will not be here for much longer. And it's all going to happen very quickly. And that's why I come on to the adult safeguarding element. When you're you got the evidence, you're not feeling it, you know you're being targeted, and unlawfully, and there's a history behind it. What is the point? Staying. Okay, you might lose your secure tender, but you think about what's important to you. To be happy, to feel safe, to the environment. Okay, it might not be perfect, but at least be in a different environment that you can build on a better life and have people that can try and work with you to get a stable kind of life, whatever that might visualize. It's never ever going to be 100%. It never is in life. But when you don't have perhaps your close family network support around you, it's vital. It's vital to get that advocate to help you get your rights across. Sometimes they're not perfect. Sometimes things happen and they don't, like I'm experiencing, serious stuff actually. But it's important to get this across. Because if it's just you saying it, and I wish to goodness these individuals would stop labelling people all the time and creating new diagnoses for things you don't have. Why on earth I keep doing that is another story, I'll tell you. But anyway, I suppose I'm one to always speak up for those that are going through things that don't have a voice. Because you have those, there's technology to aid people, and there's really good technology actually, to aid those that can't speak. And there's a lot of things going to happen where I'll be in that situation, operations and things, and it just gets more complicated. So it's getting the things done right, hopefully, first of all, and hopefully without the complications that's going to arise, you know. But how can you get any peace and quiet if you're going to have an operation, right? And you're going to have you're still going to have all this on your plate, or this like direct harassment, targeting, you know, in that mannerism, your disability hate. You're not going to feel safe. You're not going to feel right. And if you've got this major disrepair going on, well, how the hell can you survive? How the hell can you recover from an operation? You're not. You're not going to be offered any personal care, whatever that might look like, if ever gets offered lawfully, correctly, in my situation this time, in the environment, because obviously you think about the company's employees. They will have red tape, health and safety, you know. And it's just not kind of environment anymore like it used to be. When I first become this so unwell, the first couple of years weren't too bad. Well, it was bad, but the way they did things, it was just unreal. But I've learned so much more now. But since September last year, when it's come serious situation, I've had no choice but to rethink everything. I have to put myself first. And I suppose my recent streams is really trying to say, okay, well, I can't do much about my environment anymore now. You know, it's not throwing in the towel, it's just knowing time to move on. And it's going to be, yes, a lot of hurdles to overcome. But at the end of the day, you know, it's bricks and mortar. Doesn't really mean anything anymore to me. There's nothing but negativity. And I don't need to be around that. So, okay, you're going into the unknown. And you still might come across people that still have this attitude about them. But that's part of life, isn't it? And if you learn slowly how to deal with it and build up your self-esteem, it takes time and effort, and you just won't feel like it sometimes. You just go through like a roller coaster sometimes. And it's so important. Try not to overthink about, analyse things. And sometimes trust your gut feelings of situations. So that's what I'm going to say for now. I haven't stated who's involved, because I'll just leave that for a situation that I'm going to pass information on to. And it's just a generalising about if I'm going through this still for so long, and on top of everything else, you just not as easy to pull yourself down into a mindset of feeling that you know, you just got to be careful how you word things, because individuals that don't know you will think, oh, you just make it up again, or you just this, or you just that. But you've got a record. If you've got a record, a paper record, an email record, or a diary record of what's been going on and so forth, then that's more evidential to produce, if need be, than it is just real presumption, isn't it, really? So you cannot deny the evidence in black and white, so to speak. And if you even have an independent witness, it's still good, you know, and photograph evidence if need be. But try not to put yourself in situations where your life's at risk or your situations are volatile, because if individuals that's causing to see you got a photograph, just be careful about it. It's just pure luck that my net curtains were closed. Well, they always are, but the way my friend took a photograph of evidence, what happened. And then it just goes to show, she just went through a diary of mine from last year and showed who was behind trying to get it's a generalised, what happens is certain individuals, they make a complaint they can't park the car in certain able-bodied people I'm talking about. Certain individuals can't park the car in a very well-known certain location, and but I pay for my disabled bay connected to my flat all along. It's lettered out that way. So there's a standardised general words or IT produced letter. Went out to everybody, but there's people around here, a certain public building, that employees are trying to send letters around. Don't know how they got away with that, but to let out their car spaces to save them paying to park in the public car parks. But yet the public person's paying their wages anyway. Well, I just couldn't believe that. But anyway, this generalised letter was about you need to register your vehicle if you still need your parking bay. Well, hold on. They never produce the evidence of a national change in policy in any of their car parks generally with renting out your home, whether it's a house or a flat, blocks of flats, you know. And they were just worded, because I questioned this, you see. I questioned such a word and like, is this happening on a national scale for all changes in just certain areas throughout UK? And if there was a certain areas UK, well, what is the reason behind it? Well, could you provide the facts of what's going on then? How has it suddenly appeared that you want to do a review on? Because there's a certain management company they pay to monitor the car parking. It's like a main company. This company is employed by the other company car parks, you know, these private car parks. And a certain couple of people, they know this particular guy that owns a company. Well, anyway, quite long story short, that letter was, the way it's worded, I picked up how it was worded, and so I just challenged it. And I just was polite in how I worded it and who I directed to by email and post, and good job I did it by post too, because the email came back on me. They don't have an email because everybody works online. So, you no longer have a housing officer, housing manager. I mean, there's quite a few of them scattered about these days. Anyway, and because I had a document I kept since 2016 in case I needed it, it proved that it took 6 months for this company employees to repaint my disabled bay. And they didn't repaint it the correct way. They just started using stencil, like you draw things with, and they just put it on this blinking car park. It wasn't done lawfully at all. And anyway, it was done. But I had the letter, and I sent that off with the IT producer's current letter, proving that I already had the offer of the particular type of permit. It's like a car permit, and for the disabled bay as well. And because there's so many different offers of services of various things I deal with in medical companies, I cannot just put one vehicle on a particular document. It's too many, and changes all the time. And then I find my mate was going through some stuff, and she found out also that it was this individual, female above me, and her mum behind it all. And it's too much a coincidence that this happened this afternoon, soon after I get that email back saying, oh no, You're yesterday like this disabled babe. No, that's fine. You'll keep it. Like, of course I'll bloody keep it, because I quoted and challenged them on disability discrimination otherwise. And yeah, so then what happens today? The next day, the campaign of disability hate starts again by the same individuals. And so just my mates, just they work in a other professional field, and they says that is not a coincidence. Come on, there's a pattern. And the way she beamed her car lights through my window, broad daylight, and it was all deliberate. I mean, just these little things are happening, but it's so petty, so pathetic. Do you think that's going to work and affect me the way it is? No. But I'm just sharing my experiences to help those that may not know how to go about this. And just be clued up, you know. I'm sure you might be already. But anyway, I'll be glad if I can get away from it wherever. But there's, you see, if individuals are trying to do this, to try and get into your psyche and trying to mess about your mindset, and you're going through things already, it can be a trigger, so be careful about that. And as I said, if you do have friends to talk with, you know, or at least try and, you know, if you are using social media, be careful what you say on that, because things can be stored and recorded. And don't share your private information if you are being targeted in ways you feel that maybe have a detrimental on your health. Then it's important to just write it down and keep a log. So if you are dealing with future public employees in a way, you can make them aware, and that might just go in a report without mentioning any people per se, but just might help you to try and push more points if you're trying to find suitable housing. But you'll be very, very lucky if you do find something that's safe. And unfortunately, the way things look like generally, for not just me, the care environment, it won't be as such as what you think. It'd be like institutional environment, and it's just unfortunately just learning new ways of doing things then, isn't it? So from my experience years ago, what happened to me, then I know now what to expect. Oh, you can't expect for everything, obviously, but I know more what their assumptions will be. But just, I'm going to end this now because time's getting on, and I'll keep this up just on the subject of, like, if you got a comment or you have your own experiences, just if you want to be anonymous or whatever, you know, it's important. If you've got positive outcomes and you've had a remedy, it'd be interesting to know how, you know, with your family member, if you going through things, you don't know what to do about it. If my opinion and my viewpoints, my experiences might help, then I hope so. But if not, that's fine, you know. I just know for me personally, I know it just sounds a bit strange perhaps you listening to this stream, but you start to realise, you start to feel it in your gut when time's right to move on, and time's right to just know when it's time to cut the cost and what's going to be important, you know. You've got a short period of time on this earth. What's the point in having all this dragging on and affecting your quality of life? Because a sense of community around here has gone out the window, apart from one individual I know about. But no, it's all about self this and self that, and unfortunately, I do have to say that the mainstream media, their programs, which I don't watch anymore, but their programs is all about trying to tarnish the image of disabled people a lot of the time, and negativity, and it doesn't help. And then you've got people that are not clued up, and they just make assumptions, don't they? But there are kind people out there. Obviously not hardly anyone around here, but I have noticed really kindness and strangers out of the blue, so it's worth knowing about that. Well, that's my last story for a while now. I'm having a break and from doing any social media for a while. So I need to concentrate on me and what I need to prepare for. So I wish you well and Godspeed and peace. And I hope this helps somebody. Just my personal opinion. It's up to you what you want to do, obviously, but it's just worth investigating. If you want to, take care, God bless. Signing out from UK.